What is going on, everybody? Good morning, Wednesday, December 11th, 8 a.m. on the dot, episode number 49 of The Sleeper Show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you very much for hanging out. Whether you're watching the show live, you're watching it a little bit later, recorded, whatever the case is, I appreciate you guys being here. I know there's many places you could be at 8 a.m. in the morning, but for some reason you've chose to hang out with me, so thank you very much for doing so. We got a fantastic show lined up today. You know, if I said that yesterday, I was lying. But today's a fantastic show. Looking forward to I got a lot of good topics here. You know, as you guys can see here, showcase showdown right there. Look at these topics right here. Look at this work by Sliwa right here. We got a lot to get into. I'll get into that in just a second. Just a good morning to everybody. Grab your cup of Joe real quick. Grab your cup of coffee for a quick second. You know, maybe you're having some tea, whatever it is that you like in the morning. This one's steaming. I'm gonna burn my face off here on this one, but it's worth it. It's worth it here to get the show started. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Here's what we got going on today. I'm gonna kind of look here. What do we got here? We already have people, throwing in the chat here. Good morning and everything else. Okay, we're gonna do all that. I'm gonna get to you guys in just a second. Couple things we got going on today. Let me first off by saying this. Every Wednesday, we do Ask Slee. Okay. Ask Slee was something that started when I was over at 710 ESPN. Wasn't my idea. It was Travis's idea. Okay. Thought it was actually a pretty good idea. So I stole it. Well, it says it has my name on it, so I think I have the ability to steal it. Now, if I get a letter from an attorney, maybe I stop doing it. Ask Slee coming up at the end of the show. We do it every Wednesday. Any question that you have, it could be about anything. Throw it in there. I will tell you guys this. Last week, phenomenal. Ask Slee last week. I thought there was actually some pretty good questions, interesting questions, funny questions. So throw whatever you want. We'll do it at the end of the show. Here's what we got going on today. Yesterday, Roki Sasaki's agent spoke. He spoke, and let's just say everybody listened. I want to spend some time on that. Joel Wolf, if you're a Dodger fan, you're walking away saying, oh, we're 100%. We're getting Roki. If you're a Padre fan, it's like, he's not going anywhere else. He's coming to us. I'll spend some time on that interview from yesterday, and we'll kind of break down some certain things. I'm going to make a case for San Diego. I am. I think it's actually good for baseball if Roki Sasaki comes to the San Diego Padres, and I'm going to make a case for it. And it's more going to be from an entertainment perspective, and it's also going to be because I'm desperate to get another starter, and the Padres need another starter, so it's a combination of the two. But I'll make my case for it. I got something else too on the San Diego Padres. I'll spend a little time on Teoscar Hernandez. That dude, the timing of Teoscar Hernandez and his free agency bid after Juan Soto just got paid basically more than most countries' GDP. I actually am starting to lean more towards, I don't think Teoscar Hernandez is going to be a Dodger. I don't. I think there are teams that are going to overpay, and I have a feeling that he's not going to end up being a Dodger. We'll talk about that. Kendrick Perkins yesterday, some more trade chatter. Everywhere I look, there's trade chatter about LeBron. I don't know if he's actually going to get traded, but there's just at least conversation about it, chatter about it. We'll spend some time on that. And then Khobi Price coming in at 8:30. Covers the Lakers for the OC Register. We're going to do that and then Ask Slee at the end. Let's look at some of your comments here. Happy Wednesday. Good morning to you. Morning, Slee. Slee, have you stretched? That's a great question. Let me tell you guys something. I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I don't stretch enough. Yesterday, I went for a long walk. Some people are they're out there jogging 10 miles. I'm like strolling for 4 miles, just taking a walk. Why don't I stretch more? I need to stretch more. So it's a good question. I should do it in the morning. Just get it out of the way. I don't do that enough. Good morning to everybody here. I got a lot of good mornings here. Let's go Slee. Good morning from Portland, Oregon. Before we get started, there's two things I want to do before we get started on the show. One thing I want to read out the quote here, the quote of the day. It's a good quote. I like this quote. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. That's Steve Jobs. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. I think we can all take a page out of that, whatever it is that we're doing in life, whatever we're making happen on our Monday through Friday or the weekends or the nights or whatever it is. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. So that's a good quote right there. Other thing I'm going to mention when we get the show started. Yesterday, I asked you guys, I spent maybe 5 minutes at the end of the show, basically just telling people if they got feedback on the channel, go ahead and reach out to me any way you want. I saw it on the comments after the show. A lot of people had some great feedback. Some of them was, hey, is there a way that you could extend the show, go longer than an hour? Other feedback was, is there an opportunity to get more former athletes or current athletes on the show? I got a great email late last night. I got one from Edward, just a really, really nice long email about certain things. The point that I'm trying to make is, if you sent me any feedback, it's getting read. I appreciate the feedback. It's definitely something I'll take into account. All the feedback that's on there, I'll definitely take into account. But keep that stuff coming. I want you guys to feel like this is as much your channel as it is mine. So let's get the show started. Let's get started right here on Wednesday, December 11th. So yesterday we're sitting here. I gotta read this to you guys because this is awesome. This is just how sports sometimes, how basically whatever you want to believe, you can force yourself to believe. Okay. If you're, this isn't, I'm not getting into politics, but I'm going to give you an example. If you lean towards the right, you're just going to go to the websites that lean towards the right. If you lean towards the left, you're going to go to the websites that lean towards the left. You will believe whatever it is that you want to believe. You're going to get fed the information that you want to get fed, so you can fill that soul of yours with whatever it is that you want to read. I typed in, usually what I do when I'm prepping for the show, before I go to bed, I kind of start reading all my articles, reading all my stories, and I start getting the foundation of what the show's going to be the night before. That way, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not scrambling as much. I have, I'll update some stuff, but I have a pretty good idea what the show's going to be about. Last night, I knew I was going to start the show about Roki Sasaki. I also know I got Khobi Price coming on at 8:30, so I'm like, let me wait on some of the Lakers stuff. I've been doing heavy Lakers, and frankly, I don't know if you guys are probably mentally need a break from Lakers basketball, but I'm going to do it with Khobi at 8:30. So I'm like, all right, you got Roki Sasaki news that's out right now. His agent finally spoke, Joel Wolf. I typed in, if you guys are in front of your computer right now, I encourage you to do the same thing. Type in Roki Sasaki on Google and just put news. Let me read to you how many different teams think they're in the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes. And for all I know, they are. I think on our show, and especially because I do the show from San Diego, I have LA ties because I was on LA radio for a number of years. I know I have I know I have a Dodgers / Padres audience on here as well. So I always kind of try to keep it SoCal related. Listen to how many teams, when you type in Roki Sasaki and you type in news on Google, New York Post, where Mets stand and hunt for free agent Japanese star Roki Sasaki. Okay, let's keep going here. NBC Sports Philadelphia, Phillies, very interested in Roki Sasaki, would love to make their presentation. All right, let's keep going here. The Seattle Times, Ichiro, expected to help Mariners in recruitment of Japanese star. Let's keep going here. Phillies say they would love to have, okay, that's another one that's Philly related. I've seen some that are Texas related. I've seen some. I just, off the top of my head, just doing what I just did, I just named off 4 or 5 different teams in Major League Baseball. That's not the Dodgers and it's not the San Diego Padres. Everybody feels like they got sort of a shot. Now, maybe there's some teams that have a better opportunity than others, but that's why when I say you could believe whatever it is that you want to believe. This morning, there's somebody in Philadelphia that clicked on that NBC Sports Philadelphia website and said to themselves, Philly got a shot. There's somebody else that's in Seattle that clicked on that Seattle Times article and said, Seattle's got a shot. I don't know how much of a shot that those teams have, but I do know that Roki Sasaki is the talk of winter meetings. And I do know that Roki Sasaki can change the complexion of a franchise for years to come. I think if you were making a case, the only team that I don't think he can drastically change, because I think it's just the rich getting richer, and I think it's a luxury, not a necessity. The Dodgers are the one team where they're so stacked, you're basically just saying, okay, I got all this money. I'm just going to put more money away. Rather, where other teams like, I got to spend the money, and every dime that goes out, I'm going to obviously see it. So here are, I thought there were some interesting quotes listening to Joel Wolf. Now, remember, Joel Wolf is part of the Wasserman Group, and Joel Wolf is the individual. He's the agent of Roki Sasaki. This is the guy that came out, what was it? Probably about 2 weeks ago, and was basically like, Roki Sasaki has not made a decision. I can't believe, all the equity that I've built, the trust that I've built, and you guys just think he's going to the Dodgers. That to me raised a lot of red flags. It's like, if this guy's got to go out of his way, one of two things are happening. Either the agent is trying to make sure that there wasn't a deal done behind the scenes, which could very well have been already done. And maybe that's not even to do with the Dodgers. That could be Shohei Ohtani. That could be Yamamoto. That can be having those conversations behind the scenes with Roki Sasaki. And it could be Shohei like, hey, I feel like, yeah, there's a good chance he's going to come join the Dodgers. Or it could mean Roki Sasaki is saying, I haven't made a decision yet. Why does everybody think I'm going to the Dodgers? Can you straighten this thing out? Whatever it was, to me, that raised red flags, thinking in my head, if this dude's going out of his way, if he's talking to reporters and everything else and trying to tell everybody it's not a done deal with the Dodgers, that made me lean a little bit more towards, okay, then I think he's going to be a Dodger. Here are some quotes that came out yesterday from Joel Wolf, the agent of Roki Sasaki. I thought were some interesting quotes. Here's one quote. Wolf said Sasaki could be attracted to a team with veteran Japanese players, but wouldn't necessarily need it to succeed. Okay. When I hear that, I say to myself, okay, well, then that's advantage San Diego, right? You got Yu Darvish. There's a lot of these articles that talk about how Yu Darvish is basically an icon to Roki Sasaki. Not just Roki Sasaki, I'm sure a lot of Japanese players. But that quote specifically could be attracted to a team with a veteran Japanese player, that I instantly get drawn there. Okay, could that also mean Shohei Ohtani? Maybe that means Shohei. Shohei's been in the league for 7 years now. He's considered a veteran. We'll see what happens. Here's another quote. Sasaki also has paid attention to how teams have done as far as overall success, both this year and years past. Okay, I'm going to read that, and I'm just going to assume that's advantage Dodgers. The Dodgers have been successful for the past 12, 13 years. The Dodgers, even with some of the postseason struggles that they had before this year, they're in the postseason every single year. That's kind of a guarantee and a lock that the Dodgers are in the postseason every single year. Okay, that sounds like that quote. That's advantage Dodgers. Okay, then you keep reading of some of the article or some of the quotes coming out from Joel Wolf. Here's another one. He may not want to go to a big market media. That's not a quote. That's him. Basically, his relationship with the media, I guess it sounds like in Japan, wasn't that great. He is more of kind of a quieter guy, a subtle guy. He's had real tragedy happen in his life, and that he does not want to be in the spotlight, and that a big market may not be attractive because LA or New York, obviously, those are the number one and number two markets. All right, advantage San Diego, or advantage, let's call it a smaller market team that's not those bigger markets. I kept reading into it. All right, agent that reps Roki Sasaki, Joel Wolf, also represents Yamamoto. Okay, advantage Dodgers, but also represents Yu Darvish. Okay, never mind. I mean, you can literally, whatever it is that you want to believe, you can believe when it comes to Roki Sasaki. But I think the one thing that is clear, it still does sound like the Padres and the Dodgers are the two teams that have a real shot of getting Roki Sasaki. There were some articles out there too. Maybe it's the New York Mets. Maybe now things have kind of changed with them. They just signed Juan Soto. We know what Steve Cohen is doing. If you're not with the media of the New York Yankees, what does the media look like with the Mets? That's probably changing. I mean, the Mets right now, certainly there's a lot of attention on them. At the end of the day, it's a great conversation. It's a great storyline. We don't know where he's going. But I do think that there is so much conversation about Roki Sasaki. I love it. I think it's phenomenal. Now, I'm going to make a case here. Now, I know there's going to be some people here on this chat that won't like this case, but that's okay. What do we talk about when we talk about sports? What do we talk about? Everything's about entertainment. Okay. I'm obviously I'm going to be shifted a little bit on my conversation here, but I have a genuine case that I think is good for baseball. Roki Sasaki should sign with the San Diego Padres. I'll make my case why. If we're talking just entertainment perspective, the best rivalry right now in baseball is the Padres and the Dodgers, period. There's no argument here. There's no argument. The way baseball treated those two franchises, the way last year baseball started in Korea was the Padres and the Dodgers. Every time those two teams faced each other, it was must-watch baseball. And then wouldn't you know, in the first round of the playoffs, after the wild card, it's Padres and the Dodgers, and it goes 5 games. Guys, I'll be the first one to tell you, and I've told you this before, the Padres choked in the playoffs. I thought the Padres woke up the Dodgers, and the Dodgers took their game to another level because the Padres thought when it was 2-1, they thought the series was over. Well, it's 1-3. It's not 1-2. But there was real entertainment in those two franchises going up against each other. There was real entertainment in Manny Machado and Jurickson Profar. There was real entertainment in Will Smith chirping with Profar earlier in the season, or maybe that was last year. I can't remember. There was real entertainment in Dave Roberts kind of running his mouth too about feeling like there was some disrespect from the pod. At the end of the day, your play does the talking. The Dodgers won with their play. The Padres didn't, and they were just kind of left there sitting. Was that the best opportunity we had to make to a World Series? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I have no idea. But from an entertainment perspective, those two squads were phenomenal. Let me play out a scenario for you. Let's say Roki Sasaki decides, I'm going to go be a San Diego Padre. You don't think that's entertaining? You don't think that's good for baseball? The Dodgers already have 39 pitchers coming up next year. He's a necessity. He's not a luxury. He may very well sign with the Dodgers, and this isn't even a conversation. But from an entertainment perspective, what makes things entertaining is I don't know who's going to win that series. I'm going to give you guys an NBA comp. When the Miami Heat had the Heatles, and it was Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James, do you know what made those finals interesting? What made them interesting was, okay, yeah, they got those 3 players, but they still lost in the NBA Finals twice out of 4 times. Dallas got one. San Antonio got one. I think if this Dodgers-Padres rivalry is going to go to another level, and maybe there are Dodger fans that don't think it's a rivalry, but I like my conversations that I've had with guys like Doug McCain, guys that I've had with Matt Moreno, guys that actually cover the Dodgers and every single day are covering that team, and they will tell me this is a rivalry. This is a good rivalry. Dylan Hernandez joined, writer for the LA Times, joined the John Quintero show. It was last week. I helped run John Quintero's podcast, one of the OGs in sports talk radio. And Dylan was saying that one of the things that's so interesting about this scenario is Roki Sasaki want to join Yamamoto and join Shohei Ohtani, or does he want to beat him? Does he want to create his own legacy? Supposedly, Roki Sasaki could, we'll see where this pitcher eventually goes, what ends up happening. What better storyline for him to say, I get it that that's the Dodgers. I get it that that's the Goliath. I get it that they have, that the organization is ran well, and they have a lot of advantages just because of their TV deal, whatever the case is. That's a good business over there in LA. But I'd rather go up against them than join them. I'd rather create my own identity down here in San Diego. Can you imagine when the season starts and it's the San Diego Padres going up against the Los Angeles Dodgers? Can you imagine what that looks like when you have Roki Sasaki going up against Yoshinobu Yamamoto? You're going to tell me that's not good entertainment? You're going to tell me that all of Major League Baseball is not saying, hey, that's an interesting matchup that's going on right there. And then you could start putting in the, hey, here's Manny Machado, here's Fernando Tatis Jr., the Dodgers I don't even need to mention, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, go down the list of all the great players that they have. Hell, maybe it's Roki Sasaki versus Shohei Ohtani in a pitching duel. The point that I'm trying to make is, for entertainment purposes, you cannot tell me that Roki Sasaki, if he signed with the San Diego Padres, that's not an interesting storyline. I 100% think it is. And I'm also speaking as a Padre fan that wants to speak it into existence. If you still told me today what I think is going to happen, I still think that the only story is Roki doesn't sign with the Dodgers. If he signs with the Dodgers, I don't think it's a story, because I from the beginning, I've said this. I still think he probably still goes with the LA Dodgers for all the different reasons that we're talking about. But maybe this is a different character. Maybe this is a different dude. Maybe this is a guy that says, no, I don't need to play with them. Maybe his relationship with you, Darvish, is strong enough. I don't know, but that's my case from an entertainment perspective. Let's see what some of the comments are here. All right, here we go. Tone, Sliwa, stop with the Madres talk. By the way, does that mean you have something against mothers? I don't understand that. I don't understand that the thing. And by the way, that's not going to stop, because this is definitely a conversation that I think is an interesting one. And if I think it's an interesting one, I'm going to have the conversation. So I apologize, but I don't apologize. All right, let's see what we got here. Sliwa, I predicted Sasaki to Padres weeks ago. It's going down, brother. I don't know. Listen, I'm going to go back to what I just said. Is he probably more likely to go to the Los Angeles Dodgers? Probably. But let's see what happens. And if he does, then all it basically means is the Dodgers are continuing to build what's really going to be a dynasty. Listen, if Roki Sasaki goes to the Dodgers, now you're talking about, is that squad, now you're basically talking about, is that team in the next 5 years, are they winning 2 more World Series? That's going to be the expectation. That's literally what you're talking about, because it's not like all of a sudden they're going to start spending less money or anything like that. Let's see some more here. Tell him, Slee. Can I tell you something? I love these guys. When people disagree with me, I'm 100% okay with it. As long as we're just having a normal conversation about it. Tone, I'm going to give you an example. You'd had the comment as Padres suck or whatever the case. If you came back on and just made a case and said, Al, here's why I don't think he's going to go to the Padres. I don't think he's going to go to the Padres because he's only going to make $5 or $6 million. The Dodgers can give him endorsement money. It's going to be a business decision. It makes sense. He can go be, a legend with Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani. Make those cases so we can have a good dialogue back and forth. Not, your team sucks. I can't do anything with that. All right, let's get some more here. My favorite question so far. All right, here's another one here. Sasaki is leaving hundreds of millions on the table to post early because he wants to play in MLB with the best and win. That isn't happening with the Padres. Now, that is a good conversation. I can do something with that comment right there. Hey, you might be right, but can I tell you this? Shohei did the same thing 7 years ago. Shohei could have gone to the Dodgers. Shohei could have gone to a lot of different teams. He chose the Angels, and I can't tell you why. I really can't. And I'm not sure if he could do it all over again, he would do the same thing. I don't know. I know why he left the Angels. They can't win. So where did he go? He went to the Dodgers and got a World Series in his first year. So you could be 100% right on that. Let's see what else we got here. Somebody asked, I think, a very interesting question. Let me see if I could find her here. This is a good question. Who is Roki Sasaki? Can the Lakers get him? That's what I'm getting to. How else are the Lakers going to make the playoffs and be a top 6 seed without Roki Sasaki? You guys knew exactly where I was going. All right, let's see what else we have here. It's a good point, too. Dodgers didn't have the DH at the time. You're right. That was not a part of the NL yet, so you're 100% right on that. Okay, so let me keep moving here. I'll get to some of your comments, but I thought yesterday that was impossible to start this show without talking about Roki Sasaki, especially with all the ties that we've talked about. Do you guys see this quote yesterday from Andrew Friedman? You know, Andrew Friedman was, I think he was talking with Spectrum. I know he was in a few different places. Let me read the quote to you guys. The conversation was about Teoscar Hernandez. I put a video out yesterday, and I think a lot of Dodger fans, you know, you guys are going to have more knowledge on this, but I watch a lot of baseball, period. I know I'm known for NBA and I'm known for Lakers. That's always going to be my favorite, but watch a lot of baseball as well. Teoscar Hernandez was such a key piece for the Dodgers last year in that playoff run, what he was able to do in the regular season. Teoscar Hernandez is a really, really good player. The problem with Teoscar Hernandez, he plays on a team with 35 other really good players. Batted 272 last year, 33 home runs, 840 OPS. He was really, really good for the Dodgers and clutch in certain times, whether it was the grand slam. Who'd he hit it off? Michael King in game 3 against the Padres. He had some moments against the Mets. He certainly had moments against the Yankees. Look at this quote from Andrew Friedman about Teoscar Hernandez. My video yesterday was talking about if I'm one of these other teams that missed out on Juan Soto, I'm overpaying for Teoscar Hernandez. If I'm the Yankees who just signed Max Fried, I'm overpaying for Teoscar Hernandez. If I'm the Boston Red Sox, I'm overpaying. Toronto, you name any of these teams that didn't get Juan Soto that were in the sweepstakes, I'm going to go get a much cheaper version of Juan Soto. And if it's going to cost me $100 million for 4 years, then I'm going to go ahead and take my chances. Here's what Dodgers president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, this is what he talked about yesterday. He said he's hopeful the team would bring Hernandez back. He was talking to David Vassay, or according to David Vassay. But let me read the exact quote. At the same time, if he decides to sign somewhere else, we have no other choice to wish him well. You know what that tells me? This is just my read, my pulse on the entire thing. What that tells me is they made their offer. And I don't think they're going to nickel and dime Teoscar Hernandez. I think they're going to offer Teoscar Hernandez what he feels like, what they feel like he's worth, and maybe a little bit more. But I think the Dodgers, this is what they do. Now, maybe this isn't the same Dodgers anymore. 2 years ago, I would have told you, I don't think they're going to sign an injured Tyler Glasnow, somebody who has injury history, for 5 years. Blake Snell, I don't know if they're dropping $180 million plus for Blake Snell. I don't know. It's a new Dodger team where the money is coming in. That Shohei's deferred money, they're making sure gets spent. Probably a commitment they made to Shohei. Hey, if you come here and you defer this money, we're going to make sure we spend every dime to make sure that you could potentially win as many World Series as possible with the Dodgers. But it feels like to me, Andrew Friedman, reading that quote, at the same time, if he decides to sign somewhere else, we have no other choice to wish him well. That sounds like they came to Teoscar Hernandez. Here's a deal on the table. Let me just give you an example. It's 3 years, $65 million, 3 years, $70 million. They're paying more than they thought they were going to pay. I read an article this morning out of Boston that basically said Teoscar Hernandez and his camp, they're like, yeah, whatever that number was before Juan Soto, there are new numbers that are in the market right now. And that house down the street, that has 3,500 square feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, it just sold for $1.5 million. Yeah, my house is not as bigger. It's not as big. It's the acreage is a little bit smaller. Maybe I have one less bedroom, but it ain't going for under $1 million. And I think that's the position Teoscar Hernandez is in, which is a really, really good position. I read a lot of comments yesterday because I mentioned I was doing that video on Teoscar. I read a lot of comments yesterday that there are a lot of people that are out there, at least from a Dodger perspective, where they're saying you better find a way to go bring Teoscar Hernandez back. I think it's key piece. But I would not be surprised by any stretch of the imagination that Teoscar Hernandez is in another team's jersey next year. The Dodgers are going to make offers and they're going to spend money, but somebody might just be trying to save face and saying to themselves, hey, we didn't get Juan Soto. Hey, we don't have another name that we can go get. Hey, oh, by the way, Teoscar Hernandez is a good player. He was clutch in the playoffs. He's a good locker room guy. There are a lot of highlights you saw of the Dodgers yesterday, or last year. Teoscar Hernandez is in the mix, right? And maybe it's not something he did with his bat, but it was something that he was doing with, throwing the sunflower seeds on Shohei or whatever the case is. So I do think it's kind of a interesting how it all pans out. Just making sure guest is all ready to go here shortly. I think it's going to be interesting the way it all pans out, but it is going to be, I think, a very, very critical piece of what happens for the rest of the offseason for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, first half hour is in. We hit on baseball. Okay, I got your Roki Sasaki out there. I got your Teoscar Hernandez. Made a case for my San Diego Padres. But that's enough now. Now, when Khobi Price shows his face on the chat, now it's business. It's all business now. Good morning, Khobi.
Good morning.
How are you,
feeling?
brother?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm I don't know the last time I went a half hour into the live show and I didn't even mention the Lakers. Never even mentioned it.
Well, I mean, they're on break, or they've been on break, so understandable. You should be too from them.
I try. You guys may have seen Khobi around. Certainly, he's been on the pod before. Khobi Price covers the Los Angeles Lakers, and he does it for the OC Register, SoCal News Group. Does a fantastic job, is traveling with the team, and is nice enough to join me for the show. Khobi, you a coffee guy? What kind of gets you up in the morning?
Coffee and energy drinks power me throughout the day. I had an energy drink this morning before going to the gym. I will be having a coffee probably not too long after we wrap up here.
Okay, so real quick here, you already went to the gym? Are you like an early gym guy?
Depending on the day, depending on how I feel. I mean, it's easier to do so when the team's not playing a certain amount of games on the road.
Yeah.
I like to get it out the way early just so I can have like the rest of my day to look forward to, and like figure it out. Like, all right, I try to commit to going to the gym a certain amount of times per week. So if I can do it earlier, let things come up.
No, that's all good for you, man. No, I feel more insecure about myself. Thank you, Khobi. Because I rolled out of bed and I did nothing this morning, just nothing. I had a guy ask me in the chat. He said, "Have you stretched yet today?" I'm like, "I haven't even stretched yet." Khobi already got a gym workout in. The guy already ate his fruit allotment for the day. Damn, Khobi, making me look bad on my own channel.
No, if you make me feel bad, I haven't had my fruit yet. That's coming. I already planned it out. That's coming a little later this afternoon.
All right, brother. Well, let's get started. Nice little break for the Lakers. It is
not just for the Lakers, but for everyone around the Lakers.
You're right about
put my hand up. No, I mean, kind of get into that. I think to peel back the curtain, I think JJ spoke on it. Like the road trip they were just on was. I think I even wrote this. If you look at the schedule, they were gone for 8 days and that 4-game road trip from the day before the Utah game on the first night of a back-to-back before playing Minnesota the next day to getting back after the Atlanta game. It was technically 8 days. But as someone who covers the team is traveling, it felt longer than 8 days just because the Monday, I think that was Monday the 25th, go to Phoenix. They play Phoenix and San Antonio on the back-to-back. You fly back to LA on Thursday, play OKC on Friday, fly out to Salt Lake on Saturday, then it's the road trip. So there was a lot of, even though it's a 4-game road trip across 8 days, which for a 4-game road trip is quick, it was a lot of, all right, go out, come back. And then it was the nature of the road trip from Salt Lake to Minnesota to Miami and like a 3-4 day span, that wears on the body. As someone who went through it, so this break, I don't know if people can truly, I don't know if we've spoken enough on just how important this break is just to regroup physically, mentally, emotionally. I say that I'm probably putting a little bit of a personal touch on it, but I think for the team and players and I mean, injuries. I mean, with LeBron missed last game, Austin's missed for several games. Jackson Hayes has been out for a while. It's an important time to just regroup. If we did this 2 days ago, my energy would be much different compared to us doing it this morning, just because I've been able to regroup
Hmm.
in a way. So I think there's a good chance you'll see that from the team as well.
Kobe, you're in the locker room after every single game.
Yeah.
And Lakers had games over these last 3 weeks where they lose by 29 or they lose by 27 or they lose by 41. How surprised were you about that stretch? Because I think for me, it came out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, the bleeding just it wouldn't stop. What was that environment like after each one of those games? What was the mood in the locker room? And even though the Lakers got a W this last game against the Portland Trailblazers, nothing to be too happy about, but I'm sure for them, they just needed to see a win in the win column. What has the mood been like for the last couple of weeks when you're in there, when you're around the team, coaches, players, etc.?
Yeah, I think the energy there was definitely a shift in the energy and the vibe. I mean, earlier in the season, which is typical, they were 10-4, 10-5. Um, upbeat energy, vibes were good, and then obviously, start losing. I think it was a combination of the losing, the losses starting to pile up, the fatigue starting to pile up, both physical fatigue, but also some of the mental, emotional fatigue. Um, I think that starts to pile up, and you start to see, some frustration, some confusion, um, and just guys being a little weary. The energy just dips from, like I say, excited, eager to just like, oh dang, we have to do this, or we just went through this, and you can feel the shift. I think those are the biggest things I felt. More so the fatigue, confusion, and frustration. And sometimes it wouldn't sometimes be all of those things. Sometimes it'd be one. Sometimes confusion about, I think sometimes JJ was confused about, I think he even spoke on this publicly. Guys not the game plan not being executed, and what went wrong in terms of, was there a communication issue or what was happening? Frustration from the sense of four of those seven losses, I think, going back to the Phoenix game, or even going back to the Denver game, were by 25 points. So just getting blown out multiple times, or several times rather, a few times in a very tight span. That's just causing frustration. And then fatigue, just because, like I said, they were on the road so much. Um, the nature, like the schedule, doesn't l- look as bad when you just pick it apart, I guess, like game by game. But when you look at that totality of, I think it was however many games over a 12-day span, 13-day span, you look at it, it's like, yeah, those are tough opponents, a lot of travel, a lot of back and forth. So you just felt an energy zap, not even
Hmm.
because of the results, but just going from, like I said, going from LA to Phoenix to San Antonio, back to LA to Salt Lake to Minnesota to Miami to Atlanta, back to LA. You could just feel the energy of just like, and then guys having to play more, guys are, eh, put, more being put on their plate. Those are the things I felt in the locker room after each game. And after Portland game, there was uh
A
but I don't
little
know if a little just like,
relief.
whew,
Yeah.
yes, a
Take a
relief,
deep
but
breath.
not even one of those reliefs of just like, we made it through this part of our schedule. There was and there was very like this break was pre-planned of no practice on Monday, get what you need one day, no practice the other day, and then they return on Wednesday. That was pre-planned. That was something that was already like planned in advance. So just guys knowing that in advance, it's like, all right, this is the period where we can just like reset. So I think after the Sunday win, I think even regardless of the result, there still would have been like one of those exhales, relief. All right, we have
Sure.
something to look forward to. But the win against, I mean, Portland's a struggling team, let's be honest. But regardless of who it was, just getting that win, staying above a couple games above 500, and then you go into a break with better feeling, that helps. I think that's what I felt in Sunday. Just guys, just like, all right, let's get this break in, let's regroup, and let's get to the next however many games before Christmas and the New Year. I think they have like another after the Christmas game in San Francisco, they'll have like 2 days off in between games. I think it's they play on Christmas and they play the Kings on the 28th. So that's
Okay.
a little another mini break in there where
Yep.
you're not playing every other day, and you're also staying. I mean, it's kind of funny. They're going to Minnesota again, but after that, they're kind of staying. They're staying in California for the next few weeks before going to Texas. So Sacramento game, San Francisco game, home games. So the travel will ease up after that.
So if you look at the chatter for the last, it seems like for the couple weeks, and it started before the season. Okay, hey, how are Lakers going to improve their roster? What's Rob Pelinka going to do with those draft picks? What players stay? What players go? Is there a scenario that you think between now and the trade deadline that the Lakers don't make any moves? Is there a scenario where they hold on to the picks? And the reason why I'm asking the question, Cope, because I think there can't be a scenario that exists. But hypothetically, they're going to come back. The schedule is not getting any easier. And it's been really awkward. And we'll get into LeBron in a little bit. But man, there's been a lot of chatter about LeBron. Hey, is he? And I'm talking about on all the main networks. Can the Warriors try to make a run for him? If there was something Kendrick Perkins said earlier that I'll get to about the Lakers, they would listen if LeBron wanted out of LA. Put all that to the side for a quick second. Is there a scenario that Rob Pelinka is not using those picks to try to improve that roster? Do you believe something like that exists, knowing that he didn't do it last trade deadline, he didn't do it in the summer, and clearly his team needs some help?
Yeah, I think there are actually, to me, a couple scenarios that if they occurred, that this roster would more or less stay the same. I mean, maybe like a minor tweak or two if they want to open up a roster spot or get even lower below the second apron without necessarily looking to improve the actual current team. So I guess I'll try to like do it succinctly, and if you want to get like into details about it, I think one scenario is if they just didn't show improvement. Like if they go into January, February looking like
What's the record got to be? Below 500 or 500?
I mean, maybe below 500, more, but below if they're below 500 or just like hovering around 500, if they just show even outside the record, if they just show that they're a more pedestrian team, like the first 12 to 14 games, they were more an aberration rather than in the last however many 12 games or 10 games. If they showed themselves to be more of a playing contender rather than an actual NBA contender, I could definitely see this front office saying, "Why invest more in this group because they haven't shown enough." I mean, what we're approaching, I think it was preseason or one of the preseason availabilities. Rob Pelinka said 30 games. They want to have 30 games to really show, before show to allow this group to show itself what it can be. Well, we're creeping up on what's it going to be? Game 25. They're 13-11, so this would be game 25 on Friday. 6 more. I mean, if my math serves me correct, I think that's 6 more games until like that quote unquote 30 game threshold. So if they go into the 30 game threshold feeling like unsure about the group, and just not feeling like this is a group that's really truly going to contend, then I could see them reasoning with themselves. Maybe this group's not worth further investing in the sense of trading draft picks, because is
Well,
also
can I play one scenario? So let's just say, because they got tough games coming up. You're at Minnesota. You got the game on Memphis against Memphis. Memphis looking like one of the best teams in the West. No real surprise there now that they're getting healthy.
yeah.
2 against Sacramento on the road. Detroit, Golden State, that gets you to Christmas. So now you're right around that 30 game range. By the way, right after that, Sacramento and Cleveland at home too. So we know what Sacramento's always been a problem for the Lakers, and Cleveland is clearly a really good team. Does anything come into play of LeBron was talking about it? Well, we're missing a lot of role players. We're missing Austin Reeves and Vando, who a lot of people in the chat are asking for a Vando update. And I don't, unless you have something, it sounds like it's just status quo. Do you think he takes that into consideration too when you get past 30 games of, well, what guys did I have and what guys did I not have? How much do you think that comes into play?
Yeah, well, for the Vando, I hope people saw this. I think they did. But I mean, I think the Lakers put it publicly that they're expecting him to come back in early January. That's the latest update we got. I think that was last week,
About a
right
week
before
ago.
about a week
About a
ago,
week ago.
right before the Miami game. So that's the latest update. Obviously, there'll be more updates, possibly even as today once they
Sure.
practice, or once they have more practices. But um, yeah, I mean that's the latest update on him. As of for your question, yeah, I mean you have to factor all that in. You have to factor in that Christian Wood and Jared Vanderbilt have played zero of these 24 games, and I mean, going into Christmas, which is game 30, by that point, it will likely still be 0 out of 30 games. So factor that in. Factor in the fact that Austin Reeves, during one of the toughest stretches of the season, Austin Reeves missed 5 of those games, or at least 5 of those games. Factor in that Anthony Davis has been dealing with the foot issue for most of the season. That LeBron is he's also had his own his own individual shooting drought, scoring issues during that. So you have to take all these factors in. End of the day, if Rob believes that this group or sees it as like, yes, I could upgrade with depending on how you view, if you view this as an upgrade, like Jonas Valanciunas, or go on down the line of another backup big or wing or whoever it may be, you can go down the list of guys that I'm sure Lakers fans have no problem saying that they want that guy. But if the price is, all right, give us 2 first-round picks, and you're looking at it as like, well, is this player even worth in the first place? And how much does this player impact winning in terms of impacting the group? Then, yeah, you factor all that in. But it could also be one of those scenarios where we saw last year, or last February rather, this past February, where they just didn't feel like it was worth it in terms of what you would give up to improve the group. There wasn't enough out there.
Kobe, the pressure that Pelinka is going to have on his back if he goes another imagine if the season ended this year. And listen, I'm not telling you it's the right thing or the wrong thing,
Yeah.
but the pressure on Rob Pelinka, can you imagine if we get past the trade deadline? D'Lo is still on the team. It's still the exact same roster. You held on to your 2 first rounders. You might as well then just started a rebuild 2 years ago. And I think, and I know that's okay. That's not exactly accurate because they made it to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, it would be idiotic to not give them an opportunity last year to do what they were doing. But I find it so tough to comprehend the amount of scrutiny Pelinka is going to get if they do nothing. But I know there are scenarios out there, like you're saying, if Rob Pelinka is, my job is not to appease Laker fans. My job is to do what's in the best interest of the team. It's going to be interesting to play out because there, obviously a lot of Laker fans that there's going to be pressure from them. But if the team is not showing you that we're a player or 2 away, then you could potentially be wasting picks unless you're making a trade knowing that I'm going to have whoever comes in, I'm going to have for 3 years, or this is a player that I want to have on the Lakers franchise for years to come.
Can I give you another scenario?
Sure.
Which I feel like we ran into a similar scenario because I had it on my mind, but it came back to mind when you brought up D'Lo. What if certain players just get hot? Like we kind of saw this with D'Lo before the last year's trade deadline. What if, let's go there then? What if D'Lo finds his shooting rhythm, and you feel like this player is more useful on our roster rather than trading him away for a player that, in February we have to integrate them into the system and we don't, the fit may be good, or again, it's all dependent on the player who you're talking about. But
if I use D'Lo as the example, I think for me, I've seen enough from the player. And even if he all of a sudden starts balling out, I think most Laker fans are going to say trade him now, right? Like, oh, hey, his stock's not going to be any higher. It's the, I don't think anything's going to change from my opinion on that. And I think that's kind of the same for Rui. That's the same for a few of those players. Gabe Vincent, if all of a sudden Gabe Vincent started, playing good basketball, do I feel like that's going to be, can I rely on that all the way through? I'm not sure, but I don't think there's anything that these players can do for me. I've seen enough of them to really kind of change my opinion on them.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that you have to factor in. Excuse me. Is the play, like, is it a hot streak? Is it something that's reliable? And those are all because I mean we kind of saw that with certain players last year. Like if you brought D'Lo up, like he like January, February, March, like he was
He's
killing it,
balling.
and then he was
Yeah.
balling, and then once you get to the playoffs, there was a dip, um, noticeable dip.
About
Excuse me,
that.
I'm like,
No. But I laugh. I laugh because every time D'Lo has a good game, people will say in the chat, he had a good. What do he have against Portland? 28 and 14, right? 28 points and
incredible,
14 assists.
incredible performance.
And all my comments were like, well, of course they played Portland and the game didn't matter.
You
That dude
can't
can't find that. And
beat
to
him.
be honest
Can't
with you,
win either way.
you can't win either way. And there's a lot of times I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm arguing with them. I don't think I'm arguing with them.
Look, all these games. Look, okay. In his defense, all these games matter. All these games
That's
matter.
funny.
All these. It is funny though, but no, I think that's these. There are other scenarios, but those are like the two. I guess going to call them more extreme scenarios on one end. If the team just shows that they're more pedestrian than not, and there's not a player that's you think, oh yeah, this player on their own is going to turn around. I mean, we saw what you saw 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago, was like, oh, widespread changes bringing in D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura. Like there were some
Right.
widespread, like obviously LeBron, Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves. Those were the guys that that was the core that stuck around. Um, but those were widespread changes, and it's hard to see them making similar widespread changes this season, especially because it feels like they have even less financial flexibility, especially now they're just talking about these aprons and
Right.
staying under the second apron and the penalties when you go over the second one, and then being hard capped. I mean, it's the machinations are just a little bit more tricky than they were even 2 years ago. So there are scenarios. I mean, there are very real scenarios. Like I said, if they show so little that it's like why even use a first round pick to get insert role player because said role player is not going to be enough of a difference maker to make this group go from a playing contender to an actual NBA championship contender. Or hey, Gabe Vincent found a rhythm. Rui Hachimura is very important for our team. D'Angelo Russell's shooting better. Whatever, like player by player. Uh, Jackson Hayes is more consistent. Like
Mm-hmm.
then they convince themselves this player is more valuable on our roster than as a trade piece to do X or do Y. So these are the scenarios, and we
Sure.
just saw them. We saw them last year. We saw them this summer too.
Mm-hmm. Kobe, I'm curious to get your your thoughts on it. Are you surprised by this? So Saturday, I'm watching a clip. I think it was from Friday night, and Michael Wilbon is making a case that the Lakers should try to trade LeBron to the Golden State Warriors. And then Brian Windhorst on his Hoop Collective podcast, he's got a quote in there basically saying, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you there's some teams asking, hey, will LeBron potentially be, will he want out of LA? Yesterday, Kendrick Perkins had put out there, he said, Kendrick Perkins believes Lakers would listen if LeBron James asked for a trade. I'm not asking if LeBron's going to get traded. I don't know that. You don't know that. I don't know if LeBron would ever want out of LA. Are you surprised that there's this much chatter about the concept? Are you surprised that some of these networks, which Michael Wilbon doesn't just say things to say things, neither does Brian Windhorst. Uh, one of my Bill Plaschke of the LA Times had an article maybe yesterday, the day before, basically saying, hey, get rid of Braun. Let's start the rebuild. Trade Anthony Davis. Are you surprised there's this much chatter just about LeBron?
No, I'm not, because I feel like we went through something similar this past year, or not this past year, last year, when some of the details are escaping me right now, but I remember that ESPN published a story that's mentioned that the Warriors reached out, or there was some sort of communication between the Warriors and the Lakers about LeBron ahead of last year's trade deadline.
Yep.
And then I think it was Rich Paul just shut it down pretty quickly. But it was also during a similar period. I mean, this was around right before the Lakers kind of went on their hot streak last year, before that's the end of the regular season. But it's one of those things that, I mean, we've seen it before. If when the Lakers are struggling or if things are going well, then there's going to be, just like any other player, there's going to be a little bit more chatter. I think also part of it is the year-to-year commitment on LeBron's side and the obvious acknowledgement of that this dude's in year 21, or
Yep.
last year year 21, this year 22. He's here to win. Like, yes, he may enjoy LA, and yes, all these other factors, but he's here to
I
he's here
agree
to
with you
win.
on that. I agree with you on that.
He's here to win. Like, he's accomplished everything there's accomplished in the NBA. He's playing with his son. He's got the scoring record. He's breaking all these other records that he's either going to break or he's already has them on his own. There's not much like that. Like, there's not much more for him to do outside of winning. So if teams feel like the Lakers aren't about winning, which that can be its own topic, teams are going to reach out. Teams have to, and that's part of their jobs. Teams are going to gauge. It's like, hey, just what's going on over there? I'm just asking. I'm being a team. I'm just checking in. That's part of, just like you do any other player, but especially now recently, if you feel like there's a dissatisfaction on LeBron's side, which I'm not saying there is or is not. I'm just, if you're a team,
Of
and you
course.
feel that way from the outside, you just got to check in. Because even with LeBron in year 22, he's obviously he's still one of the top players in the league. That if you are serious about winning, not even getting to the business side of things. That's before you even get to the business side. If you're serious about winning, you would gauge the interest of like there are obviously several players that, like, Jokic comes to mind. You can't even ask about Jokic without getting laughed at. Be like,
Yep.
Jokic, Giannis,
Luka, Shea.
like, well, even with Giannis, there's been conversations, like, teams have been talking about Giannis for like 5-6 years. Like, every time there's any kind of strife or any kind of down moments, they check and be like, hey, certain teams are like, hey, what's going on over there? Any availabilities? But there are just some players you don't even ask about. LeBron's one of those that is teetering on, like, don't even ask about LeBron, versus like again, especially because of the year-to-year commitment, or whatever, 2-year commitment. You're just like, hey, what's going on over there? Let's just check in. So it doesn't surprise me. I think it's just natural when there's a period of struggle or a period of unknown uncertainty. Just got to check in, see what's going on, see if there's any availability, see what the other thing is that you have to more so gauge LeBron's interest. You have to gauge both.
That would be the first. Yeah, that'd be the first thing you got to do.
You have to gauge both, but you have to do both. You have to gauge the Lakers' interest if you're a team, and then also LeBron's interest.
I think what it says more than anything else, and we could end it at that, but I think what it says more than anything else is it kind of gives you an idea where the team is. Because if the squad, who started out 10-4, if they hit their free throws, they're 11-4, go into some spiral against Orlando. If they go into some spiral after that, where they're not just losing, they're getting ran out of the gym. The reason, if the Lakers were sitting at 4th in the Western Conference right now, there is no conversation about this, right? But it's because of what's happened over these last 3 weeks or so that makes it interesting. Khobi, I appreciate it, brother. I know you're, obviously going to continue doing your thing and covering Lakers basketball, but I appreciate you. 2 things. Number 1, I appreciate you taking the time to join the pod. And number 2, I appreciate you making me feel like I'm lazy because you already worked out this morning.
Come on.
Right when the show ends, I'm doing as many push-ups as I can, which is not going to be much, but I'm going to do as many push-ups as I can, Khobi.
Come on now. Well, first off, I appreciate you inviting me on. It's always a pleasure. Second off, I did not come on here to shame you. I was just literally giving you an early recap of my day. But yeah.
No, when you came on, you went like this too. Like you I'm like, why are you doing that? That's unnecessary.
Oh my God. Hilarious.
That's hilarious. Khobi, I appreciate the time, brother. I will see you soon at Crypto. But thank you for doing this, and we'll do this again down the road. All right, brother?
Appreciate you.
All right, man. Thank you, Khobi. All right, Khobi Price right there. OC Register. Good dude right there. Good dude. Certain people like that. He's kind of a funny one. He's been covering, I think last year was his first year covering the team. I don't even have that much history with him, but he's got a great personality. Like I enjoy having conversations with him, and I do it all the time, whether it's Lakers or it's not. So good dude right there. Go find him, OC Register. Find him on Twitter and everything else if you want some Laker action there. Okay. All right, we doing Ask Lee? Got to be honest. When I have a guest on, it helps me because then I could sip coffee in between. I could look at your comments. I could star them. I could find other comments and say, "What the hell are these people talking about?" So we'll do that. All right, let's see what we have here. Let's do Ask Lee right now, and then I got one thing on the in-season tournament, and then we're gonna get the hell out of here. Okay. By the way, I just want you guys to know right now at 9 a.m. I'm officially working overtime. I'm officially right now working overtime. All right, let's see what we got. Eric had here. These were some of the comments I didn't get a chance to get to. Khobi, exactly correct. Lee has given up on the Lakers. That's perspective. Jesus, Eric. Come on, man. I'm right here. I mean, can you tell me I gained some weight behind my back? Why do you have to do that right in front of my face? So you got to ask about Vanda. Okay, did that. Got that out of the way. All right, here's some Ask Slees. Okay. Orlando. Any live blues in Solana Beach? I play a mean harmonica. Okay. Let me tell you this for a live show. And this, LA's got some incredible music venues. If you're out in San Diego, there's a spot in Solana Beach called the Belly Up. Phenomenal place for live music. Great place. It's been there for a long time. So I don't know if they're doing live blues, but I'm sure they are. If you ever want to see some good live music, live shows, the Belly Up in Solana Beach is an awesome place. All right, let me look at some more here. Ask Sleaze. Oh, geez, Carlos. That would never happen. Okay, Ask Lee. Tuna salad or chicken salad sandwich? I probably lean towards chicken salad sandwich. Tuna's got a smell, but that doesn't mean that I don't like tuna because I do. But if I had to pick between the two of those, I'm going to go chicken on that side. Let's find another one here. Favorite beach in the San Diego area? Let me get off the Solana bandwagon here because that's where the office is. Del Mar, phenomenal. Encinitas, Carlsbad. Carlsbad is actually a very not underrated, but Carlsbad is a great beach in San Diego. That's another good one right there. Let's go here. Dub T, Ask Lee, tequila or mezcal? How about neither? I do bourbon. I like bourbon. I don't do hard liquor very often, but I do bourbon. I like bourbon. Let's get a couple more of these in here. This one was Bron with Steph would be so much fun. Obviously, we're talking about if LeBron got traded. All right, favorite Al Pacino movie? Ask Lee. Damn. There's a long list here. I'm going to tell you the one that comes to mind, and there's a theme to this because we've talked about it on the show. Donnie Brasco. Guys, I'm telling you, it's one of the more underrated mob movies that's out there, Donnie Brasco. And Al Pacino's role in it is such a unique role because Al Pacino in so many of these other roles that he's in, by the way, Any Given Sunday's fantastic. Al Pacino is just Al Pacino. But in Donnie Brasco, he's not like the man in Donnie Brasco. He's not, but he's phenomenal. He's with Johnny Depp. It's based on a true story. Go see Donnie Brasco if you haven't seen Donnie Brasco. It's a fugazi. It's a fugazi. All right, let's get a couple more here. So, why do you like bourbon? I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I don't know why I like bourbon, but there's just kind of a let's just say it warms the soul a little bit. I'm not. I don't feel like it's like an overwhelming taste. I just like bourbon. I really can't. And I'm not even talking about any crazy bourbon. Woodford Reserve is probably my favorite. That's not a crazy expensive one. Knob Creek's a good one. That's Makers is a good one. Nothing crazy. All right, let me get one or two more in here, and then I got one thing on the playing tournament here. Okay. Yeah, I gotta be honest. I didn't listen to it. That's where I am in life when it comes to hip hop. I just haven't really listened to hip hop. I'm all reggae. Like I'm basically 80s and 70s and 80s reggae right now. But I've been that for a while. I listen to some new reggae as well. But music, I love. But I know the Kendrick album, it's probably a sin. People are like, how does this guy not listen? Slee, can you go to 11:55 a.m.? No. I'm already, like I said, I'm already working overtime right now. It's a no. I cannot. I can, but I'm not going to. Okay, last thing I'm going to get into, and we're going to call it a day. I appreciate the show, guys. Today, phenomenal show. I love having Khobi on. We got to hit on some good, what I thought, some baseball topics. Who would have thought I told Dodger fans, and they agreed with me that Roki Sasaki should be a Padre. It's just amazing that there's so many Dodger fans that are like, Al, I agree. I hope Roki goes to the Padres. Look at the heart we share together. Okay, last thing I'm going to get into here real quick. In-season tournament. So last night, I'm driving. I'm going to go meet up my cousin, and we're going to go get some ramen. Oh, how good is ramen? There's a place, Menya Ultra in San Diego. It's a Michelin star ramen spot. Nothing special. By the way, when I say Michelin star, that doesn't mean it's expensive. It just means it's been recognized for having unbelievable food. Menya Ultra. Long story short, I'm driving from the office. I'm going to my cousin. It's like in Kearny Mesa area, which is the heart of San Diego. I get in my car and I turn on the radio. The radio's on. There's a Fox Sports radio station that's out here in San Diego. It's an iHeart station. And there's a show coming on. It's the Jason Smith Show with Mike Harmon. I don't know too much about the show. They are demolishing the in-season tournament. They're like, we don't want to start the show. There's an MLB free agency. There's other things to talk about, college football playoff, NFL. But we're going to start off the show talking about the in-season tournament. And they were just kind of racking on the in-season tournament. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, okay, well, I get that you guys don't like the in-season tournament. By the time they were done, it was like 7:06, 7:07. I'm like, you guys just spent the first 6 or 7 minutes of the start of your show talking about how worthless and unnecessary the in-season tournament is. By the way, I kind of get where they're coming from, but in my head, I'm like, mission accomplished. This is all the NBA was looking for. All they wanted to do was take regular season games and find a way to maybe make them look a little bit more important in the month of December or in the month in late November. Mission accomplished. You guys want to hear something pathetic? Yesterday, and even today I did this. I'm like, so who's playing in this in-season tournament, this knockout stage? I did that yesterday and I did it today. I just thought it was funny that I think the NBA has accomplished exactly what they're looking for. They made regular season games at least have a little bit more stake. They allowed for these games to kind of be in their own high profile stage. And it's just the regular season. Let me ask you this. If I said the in-season tournament is hurting the NBA, nobody would say it's hurting the NBA. Nobody would say, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. I think it actually it's starting to grow on me. I know there isn't something really at stake, but they seem like higher profile games because of the way they're setting up, the way it's the knockout stage. I only care about the knockout stage moving forward. I don't have a problem with this. And I thought that show, that national show, the Jason Smith Show, fell right into the trap of, I think, what the NBA was looking for. As long as you're talking about us in November and December, we don't care about anything else, because typically people don't talk about the NBA until Christmas. So if you ask me, mission accomplished from their perspective. And I actually didn't have too bad of a at least in my head, I didn't have too bad of a connotation, I guess you can call it, about the in-season tournament. I'm all in. Okay, guys, I got to go. I got to clock in my overtime. We got a huge HR department, a huge human resources department. I mean, if I told you guys how many people are on staff here, it's just Lee. It's just Lee. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for hanging out for over an hour and 8 minutes. Thank you for being a part of the show. All the comments that you guys have. I don't care how you guys listen. You could listen to it live. You could listen to it recorded. One of the things that I've noticed, and one of the things that's helping this channel grow, is a lot of people listen after live. And then I cut these little clips up, and they do well on their own as well. So I'll probably cut up something a little bit later on the Roki stuff and my interview with Khobi Price. So thank you for being a part of the show. I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Something to keep in mind. tomorrow morning, I'm going to have Chris McGee on. Chris McGee is part of the pre, the half, and the post for Spectrum Sportsnet. So he's going to hang out for about a half hour or so. And tomorrow's also episode number 50. We'll be 50 episodes into the Sleva Show. I appreciate the support. Nothing but love. Please do me a favor. Like and subscribe to the channel. Yesterday, we went over 27,000 subscribers, and we're going to keep working our way till we get to 30,000 and then go from there. So thank you for being a part of the show. Have a great rest of your day. And I'm going to go do a lot of push-ups right now. Today is just, I'm maxing out in push-ups. All right, I'm out of here.